Welcome to the Late Night Picture Show, Giant Spider Edition. Feature 1 tonight. Look at this. I've almost polished this thing off. That's kind of a Brooklyn, but without the orange liqueur that you can only get in France. Because I'm not in France. Sorry. But my friend just went to Brooklyn for the weekend to take pictures. So in her honor, I'm having a Brooklyn cocktail. So, y'all like spiders, right? Look at that half sheet. The Spider. Also known as Earth versus the Spider. Although I wouldn't really say Earth. It was just one town. Anyway, bullets won't kill it. Flames can't burn it. Nothing can stop it. The spider will eat you alive. Edward Kemmer. I know this predates it, but that sounds a little bit too much like Edmund Kemper. Some of you know who I'm talking about. June Kenny, Gene Person, Person with 2 S's. Again, look at that half sheet. That is sweet. Earth versus the Spider. 1958 American International Pictures, directed by Bert I. Gordon. Okay, it's the 50s, and hooligan teenagers are everywhere. Okay, don't get too alarmed, because really this is just a town full of Eddie Haskells. So unless you consider Eddie Haskell to be a serious threat to society, it's not so bad. So mainly we have Mike and Carol. Not Mike and Carol Brady, mind you. Remember that they were married before, had 3 kids each, got divorced and married each other. I think in that order. Damn, now my drink's broken. So not Mike and Carol Brady. That would come later. Well, when Carol's dad doesn't return from the next town over, she gets worried. So Mike borrows his 40-year-old high school buddy's car, and they go look for the old man. Yeah. Okay. I know in the 50s that there were teenage actors. Michael Landon comes to mind. But for whatever reason, in a lot of movies, you get a guy like me playing a high school kid. And I just turned 56 last month. I'd dye my hair black. Yeah, I know. This is a wig. Toupee. That's French. Well, they find a silken rope across the road, and Pop's truck down in the ravine. No Pop. This all leads to a cave with a giant spider web inside, and eek! A giant spider. Of course, not unlike the Blob from this era, the sheriff is skeptical, and in this movie also sarcastic, until he sees the spider, at which point he nearly soils himself. Way to go, Sheriff. Now the spider, just like the movie Tarantula from 1955, So 3 years earlier, in case you're keeping track. Is just a tarantula superimposed over the screen. Wait. Like that. Well, they round up some DDT and they kill the spider. They spray it with some poison and kill it. Well, you know how in every movie where there's a giant monster, the military, cops, whatever, are typically like, let's burn the thing. Let's bury it. Let's blow it to smithereens. And there's always a high school teacher or a professor who's like, no, we've got to keep the thing so that we can study it in the name of science. Well, that guy wins out nearly every time. Actually, I'm going to go with every time that guy wins out. And they bring the spider back to a safe place, the high school auditorium. Need I say more? Well, you guessed it. The spider comes back to life. Yeah, it was merely stunned by the DDT. And folks are running down the street screaming, oh my God, giant spider, just like in Tarantula. Mike and Carol, meanwhile, have gone back to the cave to retrieve a bracelet that they somehow knew her father was going to give to her. Yeah, sentimentality. Let's go back to the cave. Everybody's busy in town. Well, the spider isn't just wreaking havoc in town. It wants to head back home to its cave. So yeah. Well, back in town, the sheriff gets news that the spider is heading back to the cave, and they come up with a plan. Well, it's dynamite the cave opening. Seal that sucker in there. That's a pretty solid plan, actually. Except, oh no. Actually wrote that there. Mike and Carol are trapped in the cave with the spider. Well, now it's like the kid that falls in the well, and it's a race against time to save the kid in the well. Does that still happen? I remember a big one back in the 80s where a little girl fell down a well. Seems like there's an awful lot of wells around for little kids to fall in. Maybe too many. I don't have a well in my backyard, but if I did, it sure in the hell wouldn't be open for Charlie to fall into. I could put a cover on it. A little concrete over that. Jesus, people. Yeah, it's a race against time to save them. Okay. Excuse me. In reality, this is just The Blob meets Tarantula. But it has its moments, and it's not particularly terrible. The effects are as good or better than the earlier spider flick, Tarantula. And the backdrop of Carlsbad Caverns adds some unique and effective imagery. I spelled effective wrong. Just thought I'd tell you that because it bothers me. this movie is as good as any giant spider movie. 3. It's a three-ring circus here tonight on the Late Night Picture Show. So, let's go get another drink. Since I kind of finished that one off, I even ate the cherry. There's nothing left. It's broken for good. Let's go make ourselves a bijou cocktail. And we'll be right back for feature 2, which is Giant Spider Invasion. See you after intermission, kids.